Thank you so much for participating in our community practice channel here on YouTube. On behalf of SETSI, we want to thank you for your leadership today.
Oh, so glad to be here. Thanks for asking me.
Awesome. So as always, we begin by acknowledging the original stewards of the various lands that we are on. We also acknowledge our ancestors. We acknowledge all those who toiled without compassion or compensation. We acknowledge all the elders and community stalwarts whose shoulders we stand on as we build, share, learn together for our collective liberation and sovereignty. So if you can please do us the honors by introducing yourself to our listeners and viewers and tell us about your amazing work.
Sure. Well, let's see. Introducing me is a little tricky, but again, my name's Eric Avner, the proud president and CEO of the Waterloo Region Community Foundation. Probably more importantly, I guess you could say a husband, a son, a brother, an uncle, a bicyclist, an urbanist, an eagle eye, idea monkey, analog traveler, bourbon enthusiast, Minnesota-born, Canadian by choice, student of cities, student of philanthropy, and probably most peculiar, a former childhood toothbrush model. Yeah, which very strange, but there's proof to show that. So.
Wow, that's awesome. Amazing. Okay, so welcome. I mean, I'm sure you've been in Canada for a long time, but we're all family on this turtle island, so welcome.
Thanks.
All right. So can you articulate your personal mission and vision for us and what inspires you about the work you do?
It's hard to come up with a singular vision, but I think from the inspirational perspective, there's something about being in this work around community philanthropy and community place-based philanthropy that is, I get to be, I get the honor and I get the privilege of being a full member of this community. I mean, I've only been in this community for 2.5 years, but I'm already to this. I sort of immediately was brought in and embraced. And one day I get to be invited into a room of neighbors, and the next day I'm on a prestigious interview like this, and there's just something about getting to see an entire community and be part of an entire community. There's it's a privilege, and I know that when I'm out of this community and visiting with other community leaders, other foundation leaders, or things around, I get the responsibility of representing this community, which is it's a lot of responsibility, but it's really cool. There's something that I really gotten to love about that, and that you can't fake it. You have to really love the place you're in to do the type of work we're doing. So quickly have come to love this place and easily are calling it home. It's been this amazing initial round of welcoming, and that's been the inspiration that's been driving me so far.
Awesome. Community is, what really drives our line of work. So that's amazing. So on the flip side now, what challenges or barriers have you faced, and how were you able to overcome them, or in the process of overcoming them?
I think the biggest challenge is just this mismatch between what resources and needs. I mean, we're seeing the struggles that our residents have. We know the struggles that our service providers have, whether those are charities or nonprofits or governments. There's just not enough money to deliver the type of service that people are used to in the way that we've always been doing it. So I think we're just within the community foundation, we're routinely seeing probably 3 times the requests that we can actually satisfy. So I think there's a challenge to how do we solve that and how do we get around that, because it's not going to be just more money. I don't think that's where the answer is. The good news is for us, and the thing that's inspirational here, is that there's just, and I would imagine it's true in any community, that there's a great group of committed and innovative and creative people who care, who do want to figure these things out. So I'm convinced that we're gonna find our way through some of these challenges. We're gonna come up with some solutions locally, because we have the brain power here, we have the passion here, and maybe this is the time where with resources being tougher to come by, we get more creative on those things. We create different relationships that we didn't have before. So I think that challenge of mismatch of needs and resources is primary in my brain right now. But I'm not totally discouraged by it. I think it's going to be an opportunity to go forward in interesting ways.
That's it. That's it. That's it. It's a challenge worth tackling because you can foresee something coming into a more positive light and a solution to it. Because I believe every problem does have a solution. It's a matter of just maneuvering. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. So, do you have a set of key priorities or anything new that you want to amplify at this time?
Yeah, I think it's been interesting. We've made a shift with the foundation here to really focus on how do we strengthen a system of social infrastructure in this region. We had, before I got here and when I first started, we had the strategic focus on affordable housing, which was important, and it's still important, and it needs to be important. But we saw through some research that our community was really well, we knew it was growing fast. We're growing rapidly to 1 million residents. We're going to get there pretty quickly, and we were seeing as though we had this great influx of people. But we also had a great outflux, and so we had the second highest in migration rate and the second highest out migration rate of people. And when you have that kind of transition, it's hard to build connection, hard to build trust, how to build relationships with the people who live around you. It's hard to build relationships with your donors or with your volunteers or with your constituents. So there was something worrisome about building all the stuff that we need to build, whether that's more housing, more roads, more bike lanes for this new growth that we're happening, but we're not similarly building a system of social infrastructure alongside of that physical infrastructure that actually enables people to meaningfully connect with each other. So we've tried to figure out, like, what are those organizations, what are those spaces, what are those experiences that really do enable us to meaningfully connect, and how do we invest in those, and how do we, by doing that, can we build more trust, can we build more sense of a belonging, can we reweave some of that social fabric that seems to be unraveling when we look around. So I think we've been looking at how do we invest as a community foundation into those systems, into those spaces that people connect. And even within the spaces, we're looking at some research that the Gell Institute or the Gell Studio did, where they frame out this notion of hubs and havens and hangouts as 3 different types of spaces that people gather. A haven, a place where, it's a safe space for people to gather who have a shared identity. A hub, where more of a bridging capital, where are places that are designed specifically to enable people to connect where they wouldn't normally connect across different groups. And then where there are just hangouts, like where do you go to just be part of the city and watch the life of the community happen? And so how do we invest in those in interesting ways? And then we're also looking at those shared experiences that bring us together. What are those festivals, those celebrations, those conversations, those rituals, those stories? What are those things that give us some unity and give us some shared identity? So we're trying to figure out how we do that. And it's been interesting as we've gone down this road of investing in social infrastructure and trying to define that in a community, that it's more than just like building relationships. I think that's, if we do it right, it does build relationships, but it also advances economic opportunity. It advances climate resilience. It balances social and racial justice in our communities. I mean, it builds those connections, that trust that we need to do, or that we need to have if we're going to really accomplish big things together. So it's been exciting to get into that space, especially as a community foundation. And that felt like that's a good role for us to be in that space. Housing, we're going to be supportive of it, but we don't build housing. But we can help grow community as the community is growing. And that's exciting to me right now.
That's powerful. We know that collaboration is a key to social change, and that's on a social enterprise level and a communal level. When we come together, we make change, and that is really all what we're doing. And we know we are laying a foundation, but it's really the next generation that we're passing the baton to. So, they are holding us accountable for the things that we're doing on this planet right now. So, we're so in the perfect alignment for the future, SDG goals, all these things that are coming up. We definitely want to be in alignment for those and for the next generation too. So
Totally agree.
amazing.
Totally agree.
All right. So let me get your opinion. How do you feel about the future of social impact in Canada?
Hmm. I've been attending some interesting conversations lately around like social finance and just there's a variety of different topics within this kind of a broad umbrella of social impact. And I think I'm rapidly coming to this point that it's this kind of all hands on deck kind of work, right? This is not something that we can ask charities uniquely and solely to solve, right? We can't ask for them to solve everything that ails us, nor should we be relying on government to solve everything that ails us. And I think that as we're looking around, and we're doing this with the foundation, as we're looking around at like where there are great ideas, where there are ideas with impact, where there are ideas with the greatest social impact, sometimes those are coming from charities and we're able to support those. We've traditionally been able to do that. But sometimes they're coming from government, sometimes from startup businesses, sometimes they're coming from big businesses, sometimes they're coming from neighborhoods, sometimes they're just, we have to figure out the right way to basically invest and empower those great ideas, no matter where they come from. And that's, I know there's some people in this field, which I follow greatly and respect greatly, who are really embracing this notion of a sector agnostic kind of approach to the social impact, that this is not one sector's responsibility or opportunity. So I think there's something about that communal feel to it. And I guess the other piece of this, which as I was sitting back and thinking before we got together, it's like this term social impact, it just means so many different things to so many different people. So what it would mean to somebody in an urban environment, a suburban environment, a rural environment, what does that mean for a newcomer versus a long timer? What's that mean for sort of a young person versus an older adult, or across generations? What's that mean for racialized communities, for indigenous communities? Like it just for those with financial or medical barriers. We're seeing that the difference of interpretation, and it definitely enriches the conversations we're having around social infrastructure. I think it's similarly impactful as we're having these conversations about social impact. So I think it's been instructive for us to sit and make sure that table is big enough that we're hearing those kinds of voices and being able to bring those resources to whichever way you're approaching this work. Whoever has the best ideas and however it's impacting community, but it definitely is this multi-sector, big table approach that we need to have for this.
And I appreciate you saying that it's designed different per area, per whether it's like you said, racialized or rural area. Everybody has their own different needs in an environment. So I really appreciate you saying that, and that's very, very important. Thank you for that. So what is your ultimate goal, and what does success look like to you and your colleagues?
I mentioned before that we're a rapidly growing community, right? We're going to be 1 million residents soon. And I think my big goal would be to get enough people to realize that it's not enough just to be bigger. Like we have this opportunity and we have this responsibility to be better as we're growing. We need to be more connected, more sustainable, more equitable, more joyful, more beautiful, more prosperous. There's something about a community where people aren't just surviving, but they're thriving, right? It sounds a little bit like a buzzword, but it's our team definitely shares that notion that we have this opportunity as we're growing to make those changes, to be in an even better place. People love it here. We want more people to love it here so that we don't have that churn of people coming and going. We have people coming, great. I want people to realize that this is a great place that they can love, they can put roots down, and they can be part of. So I think the encouraging part is that notion of a place that's more connected, more sustainable, more equitable, that's resonating. We're seeing signs of it across the region, our region, that people are understanding that value of those social bonds. So I think as we're going through, and whether that's the supporting events, or we're activating and developing public spaces, or we're creating that next, I don't know, we're creating ways of fostering inclusivity in every neighborhood. I just, there's something about setting the stage, like you mentioned, for when we're a community of 1 million neighbors. We're not just a bigger community. We will be an even more connected community and thriving that way. So that's, I guess my big goal is not to be just bigger, but better.
Exactly. You want to have that impact and have what all that we're putting into, there's an outcome to it. And then that was a conversation that I had just yesterday when I was doing an interview. It's really about the outcome basis. Like, what's the outcome to all of what we're doing? How is it looking? You can actually visually see all the blood, sweat, and tears, literally, that we're putting into community. What's the outcome?
Absolutely.
And that's where the data lies, isn't it? Because data right
Yeah.
now is the next gold. So
it is, and it's yes, sure.
Right. Oh, this has been an amazing interview, Eric. I really appreciate it. I really feel your energy, and you're really about community. And that's such a breath of fresh air, because, we all have to come to this reality that if we don't do it, we're going to lose a lot more than what we actually thinking we're going to lose on, dealing with Earth and humanity and everything. Everything is interconnected. So we have to do something now. We can't just keep talking. We have to do. And, we just hope that the government will continue to do as much as they can, and they should, to make that impact on a social level. So my last question for you is, do you have any closing thoughts or calls to actions at this time?
I've been spending a fair bit of time lately really thinking more about this as we made this transition into social infrastructure, trying to really talk with people about this notion of social connection and social trust, and thinking about the implications of its decline, but more importantly, thinking about the possibilities of its resurgence. And I hadn't really thought too much about how many different ways our society is impacted by connection and trust. Right? I mean, our health requires connection and trust. Our democracy requires connection and trust. A sustainable economy requires connection and trust. Like, if we can't build connection and trust, we're never going to have the will to address climate change. So I think our future requires us to invest in these issues of connection and trust. So I think that's what we're really gearing up to do, is to show how that can be done in a community like ours. Hopefully that others can learn from that, model from it, build on it, take it to that next level, and the next level, and the next level. So we're not just doing this for ourselves, but we're doing this for the next generations as well.
Perfect. Wow. So thank you so much again, Eric. I really appreciate it. I know people who will watch this will get a lot of gems. And, we'll definitely be collaborating as well with a lot of things that are coming up within SETC, and just, whatever that we can all collab on. It's very, very important. So as we close, we will close the way that we began, by acknowledging the original stewards of the various lands that we are on. We also acknowledge our ancestors. We acknowledge all those who toiled without compassion or compensation. We acknowledge all the elders and community stalwarts whose shoulders we stand on as we build, share, learn together for our collective liberation and sovereignty. So once again, Eric, thank you so much for your time and your brilliance. Thank you.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you for having me.